In this lesson, we'll isolate the geometry of the head and face so that we can begin adding some facial topology to our character. So this is the starting point that we're going to be working on, and you can find this project file with this course. If you're going to follow along, you could use this project file. You can also use this project file is basically the endpoint of our course on creating the animation character. So you could use your the project file from there. You could use your end result from going through that course as well. If you wanted to follow along with a different character, you could try to do that, although the kind of tools and techniques will be the same. The topology will be a little bit different if you do that, but you could adapt that to your own character if you wanted to. So this is what we're starting with. And the first thing that I want to do to start to add some geometry here is I want to start to isolate some of this geometry so that we don't have any distractions. So we're really going to be concentrating right here. So the first thing that I want to do is actually separate this out from the body. So I'm going to go ahead and get a selection of faces here. And I want to just get up to the neck, and I've just got all the faces on the head selected. Let's go under polygons to mesh, and we'll extract those faces. Won't move them anywhere. And now if I just go ahead and select this, and let's go ahead and delete the history on that. Let's go to isolate select, and you can see that this is just the head we're working with. Now we'd like to delete half of this because the geometry that we create for the mouth is going to extend onto the other side. It's going to be symmetrical. So in that case, it makes sense to kind of only work on one side and then mirror that over to the other side at the point that we need to do that. So let's go ahead and go to the front. And again, I'm going to get a face selection and just drag across. And I usually like to work on the character's left, but if you want to work on the other side, that's fine too. So just get everything selected, and let's go back into our perspective. And then all we have to do is go ahead and delete those faces. And now this is kind of the minimum section that we want to actually work on. And we want to leave most of this untouched, so we want to mainly work down here. This is kind of it eliminates as many distractions as possible when we're trying to go in and start to add some new edge loops in here to this. So we've got this kind of cut apart. If we look in our outliner, we can see that the poly surface here, you can see we've got a couple of pieces here. So what we can do is kind of start to pull these out. We can grab both of these, and let's delete the history on those. Get rid of that transform. Then if you want to kind of pull that out of the hierarchy, you could do that and rename it. Okay, so this is kind of what we're going to be starting to work with. Okay, so what we want to do in the next lesson is come in and actually start to reroute some of this geometry. If you look at this, the geometry as is flows from top to bottom and side to side. And that works okay for this solid piece, but what we really want to do is get some geometry in here so that we can begin to move and deform the mouth. And so if you'll notice up here on the eye, there's you can kind of see it in here. We've got a pretty simple eye, but the loop type of geometry in here. And so we want to mimic that with the mouth so that we can get some nice shapes with the mouth. So we want to create some loop geometry here without doing too much to change some of this other geometry. And we also want to make it so we can deform this fairly well. So in the next lesson, we'll go ahead and start to draw from the nose and start to draw some loops around our mouth so that we can begin to add that resolution in there and get those shapes looking the way they should be. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.